Live Desk.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Live Desk, everybody. My name is Nicola. It is Tuesday, October 14th at 12:30 local time. We have a lot to dive into for you on our show, our program here for the next hour. I am so proud to be your host here for the next 60 minutes of the Wisconsin Live Desk. Lots to get to. So we have breaking news, excellent news this morning for patients at Ascension hospitals who are also covered by United Healthcare. Yes, after lots of doubt, after failing to meet their October 1st deadline, they have come now to an agreement. So what that means is you are a patient at Ascension who is covered by United. You no longer have to switch plans during your open enrollment period. You are now covered for your care by United Healthcare. So excellent news there. As we've been reporting, a lot of people, thousands of patients, were concerned that they would either have to switch their plan or switch their doctor. A lot of folks obviously have relationships with their doctors, many of them going back years. They didn't want to get a new healthcare provider. So this is really excellent news for those individuals this morning. So we are going to go now, if we can. Christina Van Zelst is covering, pardon? I'm sorry, I'm just talking to my Okay, wonderful. Our reporter, Christina Van Zelst, is going to be bringing us up to speed on this. Let's see if she can hear us. I have her here on remote one. Let's see. All right, Christina, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes, I can. All right, so Christina, tell our lovely viewers of the Wisconsin Live Desk the story that you're working on today.
Yeah, so this is a story we've been following since Sunday, and unfortunately, this is a tragic one. We are currently at the Milwaukee County Courthouse waiting for charges to come in for the story we're covering today, but for people who haven't been following this, I'll take you back to Sunday. So this is a fatal battery case. Milwaukee police responded on Sunday afternoon around 2:30 to 23rd and Ramsey, that's on the south side of Milwaukee, to a home there, and that is where we were Sunday afternoon at the scene, and we talked with close friends and family of the woman who was killed in this case. They identified her as 64-year-old Carrie Zettel. And Nicola, the tragic part of this case is those close friends who have lived on that same block as the victim in this case say they were not surprised to hear this happened. Yesterday, then, we reported what the Emmy told us, that the accused killer is that woman's daughter, 29-year-old Lauren Spores. And the reason that close friends were not surprised by this is because they say that they have seen several domestic violence calls to that home over the past several years, and that the mom lived in fear of her daughter. So yesterday when we were here at the courthouse, we dug into that ourselves, and we also saw cases that dated back all the way to 2018 showing domestic violence calls. The mom had also filed a restraining order in 2018 against her daughter. So we're back here at the courthouse waiting on formal charges to be filed. Again, she has not been formally charged, but just a tragic case here in Milwaukee that we are following up on. And what police told us happened is that the accused killer killed her mom with a stone. So just a horrible scene there on Sunday, and of course we plan to bring you updates if charges are filed today, but that is what we're working on.
Okay, Christina, this is just an unbelievably sad story. The victim here, who you just said she's been identified as 64-year-old Carrie Zettel. I know you spoke to neighbors yesterday, Christina, people who are close with this family, kind of know the dynamic there. What did they tell you in terms of the relationship here between this mother and daughter? Because clearly it was unconventional.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing that when we talked to them on Sunday, they were frustrated that this happened because there were warning signs for years, and they said that, of course, the mom wasn't going to turn her back on her daughter. It's her daughter, and tried getting her help, and that they are claiming that the system in this case failed. So we heard from neighbors and close friends that say Carrie was loving and a caring neighbor. She had lived in that neighborhood for decades and a very good friend. So just a tragedy all around. We actually have an interview set up with Sojourner Family Peace Center here this afternoon to talk about just the domestic violence bigger picture here and what people who maybe are finding themselves in a similar situation can do, what resources are out there so that this doesn't happen to somebody else.
You know, Christina, it really is relatable in the sense that people can understand how this mom would feel just helpless, right? Because on the one hand, she wants to protect her daughter. She loves her daughter, right? That's what an unconditional love relationship is. But her hands were tied because she wanted to get her help. But it's hard to, you know, force an adult to do that. I'm seeing here, and forgive me if you mentioned this, her daughter was 29 years old. So this is not a young girl here who we're talking about. This is a grown woman. I'm really interested to hear your interview and the story that you're working on today about things that people can do in this situation. Did these neighbors tell you anything about what they heard and saw on the day that Zettel was killed? Did they walk you through any maybe suspicious activity at the house?
Yes. So, and that's something, I'm glad you asked that, because yes. So the one woman we talked to, it was chilling to hear that she knew when the siren stopped what house they were at, what house first responders were at, because that's how many calls she's heard to that specific home. But one of the things that we heard from her, and actually heard a voicemail from the victim, was that she Carrie, the victim here, called police. This is what a family friend tells us. Called police around 3:30 that same morning after saying that her daughter was trying to break into her home, and police responded there. We're still waiting for confirmation from police, but there are some police calls that do show that they responded to the home, and that voicemail that we heard is telling her friend, hey, my daughter is here, she's trying to break in, and she ran off. And then just a couple hours later, she apparently came back, and police responded again, unfortunately, to a fatality. Yeah,
there's something too just so gruesome about the details of this case. The fact that a stone was used, that's very personal, to say the least.
Yeah, and I think that's also something that just was really hard for the close friends of this woman to think about and really take in, because it is very gruesome and it happened outside. So another thing too, the search warrant says that all of this was captured on video and a neighbor saw the whole thing. So of course, when formal charges come down, I'm sure there will be more information about that, but yeah, definitely hard to talk about and to think about for that woman.
All right, Christina Van Zelst, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're really busy today, gathering details for your story later on. When can our viewers on the Wisconsin Live Desk find your reports tonight? What shows are you in?
We will be covering this at 4, 5, and 6, and then of course you can always check it on the Fox Local app.
All right, Christina Van Zelst reporting live for us this morning outside of the Milwaukee County Courthouse, following a really tough case here out of Milwaukee County. Thank you so much for your time, Christina.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, yes, you just heard from Christina Van Zelst there, digging into a really tough story out of Milwaukee, as we just heard from her there, the case of a 64-year-old mother, Carrie Zettel, who investigators believe was stoned to death by her daughter. We should mention that her daughter has not been formally charged yet, but she has been arrested for this crime. There were witnesses here, neighbors, video, things like that. So Christina, as you just mentioned, is following the story for our evening newscast tonight. Certainly interested in seeing what she finds today. Another big story of our day, kind of taking a hard left here, is the Milwaukee Brewers. So we're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to my friend and colleague, co-anchor Carl Deffenbaugh. In a past life, Carl was a sports anchor, and he still follows sports very closely. Of course, he's, like so many Milwaukeeans, following the Milwaukee Brewers really closely, so he's going to join us live from our newsroom here to kind of unpack this series here ahead of the Dodgers. Game 2 is at home tonight at 7:08 p.m. So I'm going to take a short break, and I will see you on the other side of it in 2 minutes. Live desk, everybody. We are talking now about the Milwaukee Brewers. Yes, you're taking a live look here over American Family Field. The roof is open right now out there. The game is tonight against the LA Dodgers. This is game 2 of the series. It starts at 7:08 p.m. I think, once again, a lot of folks are going to be gathering in the parking lots and net area bars, tailgating and getting ready to go. And that is where we are going to bring in our Carl Deffenbaugh. Carl, I don't know if you can hear me. Hopefully you can. I was saying earlier that you're kind of like an unofficial Brewers expert, in my opinion, because in your former life you were a sports anchor. And obviously, like so many Milwaukeeans, you've been following this team rather closely. So let's look ahead to game 2 tonight. What are the highlights?
Yeah, so I think expert maybe is you have a very low bar for me to cross here, but I'll take it.
More so than me.
Certainly a sports fan, have that background as well, and love watching all these games. I'm the wake-up anchor who stays up way too late watching these games each and every day, and then you have to kind of carry me through the shows the following morning. But today is about getting the series even, right? The Brewers dropped game 1 last night. It was back and forth throughout, stayed close until the very end. They end up with a tying run 90 feet away down to their final strike last night, unable to win game 1. So today it's about Mr. Reliable for the Brewers. That would be Freddie Peralta. So much of this team relies on the bullpen and the decisions that Pat Murphy makes, mixing and matching the pitching, both from a starter or an opener, as they call it, perspective. But Freddie Peralta is that traditional rock, that ace for the Brewers, who will be on the mound tonight, pitching for them, hoping that they can even the series a game apiece against the Dodgers, who also have a very good pitcher on their side of things today.
We were joking last night during commercial break, or this morning I should say, about that incredible double play last night with Sal Frelick and his reaction to it. Walk us through that. What happened there?
I could talk probably for like an hour about that play. It's one of my favorite
we
things
got time.
about sports in general, but baseball specifically. No matter how many games you go to, how many games you watch, you'll always see something new. That was the first time, Nikki, that we had ever gotten an 8-6-2 double play in Major League Baseball's postseason. For those of me that used to score games back in the day, and that's how I kind of learned the game, that's the center fielder throwing to the shortstop, throwing to the catcher. And that is a very much summary of what was an absolutely wild play. So basically the Dodgers are threatening here. They have the bases loaded, hit a blast out to deep center field. Looks like it potentially could be a grand slam. And Sal Frelick, who I know you're a big fan of course, is playing actually out of position. He's normally in right field for the Brewers, but playing in center last night, which he has plenty of experience with, and is Gold Glove outfielder no matter what. Tracks the ball all the way back, makes a jumping, leaping attempt. The ball goes out of his glove, and here's the important part that I didn't catch at first, glances off of the outfield wall before Frelick catches it. Yeah. So this is where the confusion, certainly for the Dodgers, came into play, and I think just how impressive it was for the Brewers defenders to be on this from the jump. So Frelick throws it into the shortstop, Joey Ortiz, who immediately rifles this ball to home plate, and William Contreras, the catcher for the Brewers, basically acts like a first baseman, keeps his foot on the plate, stretches out as far as he can, and catches the ball before the Dodgers runner, who was on third, can make it to home plate. And it was a little iffy for the Dodgers because he goes back like he's going to tag up because it looks like it's maybe a catch, then it would be a sacrifice fly situation. But instead, because the ball had bounced off the wall and the umpires were on it, we do a lot, obviously, as fans, ripping the referees or the umpires. They were on this call from the moment. The left field umpire was nailing this one. Because the ball hits the wall, it then becomes safe. It's in effect a hit for the batter, and then it becomes a force out for the Brewers. So force out the runner at third at home plate, and then William Contreras, very smartly, once again, he's incredible, runs down the baseline. The Dodgers didn't know what was going on, tags third base for a double play out of the inning. It looked like it would be this incredible momentum play, and it certainly was at the time, for the Brewers to keep it such a close game at that point, but unfortunately unable to overcome the deficit eventually.
Yeah, it's still such a nail biter, such a close one. And you have to think too, like, I feel like, you know, when you watch things televised, you know, you're going to see things that other players on the field aren't, right? Because they don't have a camera zooming in to that outfield spot to see that he didn't just catch it, he kind of grabbed it off the wall. It was sort of bounced into his glove. So I can see how for a player on the field, like, you can't see that. It's too far away.
And again, this has not happened ever before in postseason history. This is not like something you rep in practice or maybe come across, a number of times in a long baseball career for all these different players. This specific play had never happened before, this situation. So kudos to the Brewers for being on it. I was particularly impressed with Contreras, who kind of read exactly what was happening from the moment and knew it was a force out that he could extend, versus the Dodgers, who were kind of iffy between. They went to tag up, then went back again after the catch, so to speak, was made, not really understanding the situation there, and the Brewers were right on it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was just the reaction again after was like, what just happened? Because it was so relatable because all of us were thinking the same thing. What just happened?
It is nice when the players are just like us, right? Like, what is going on?
Hey, they're living it too. All right, Carl Deffenbaugh, wake up anchor and sports enthusiast, since you don't want to be a sports expert.
Fair. Yeah, I can go with that, enthusiast.
Thank you so much, Carl, for your time this morning. Or this afternoon, excuse me. We appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, I'll let Carl get back to work now. He's busy enough. Thank you very much, helping me out here in the Wisconsin Live Desk. Okay, let's look at I think we got some full screens with some information on Game 2 tonight, if we can pull those up. Mr. Anthony. Oh, I think we got Carrie in the booth right now. All right. Oh, hi, Carrie. Oh, no, you're good, you're good. Okay, so yeah, let's look at some Game 2 details for tonight, shall we? Okay, so we've got the gates opening at 4:38 p.m. In-person roster and lineups are going to be announced at 6:38 p.m. There's a rally towel for all fans. I got one of those on Saturday night. It was awesome. Just fun to see everybody waving those around. A great memento as well. Also comes in handy if you're like me and you accidentally spilled your beer. Ceremonial first pitch is Ryan Braun. Oh, this has been kind of cool. He's been here, I think he's been to the last 2 games now, so this would be his 3rd. Kind of back to his old stomping grounds here, kind of taking in all of the excitement of his former team. And then the national anthem is going to be performed by August Haas. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that last name properly. Okay, I think we've also got some details too on a special show that we are working on for Thursday night. This is at 9 p.m. We're doing a Brewers special edition of Fox 6 News. It's going to be live from Los Angeles, sort of looking back at the last several games, looking back at this series against the Dodgers, and also comparing to, how we performed, I say we being the Brewers, against the Dodgers during the regular season. I mean, we were undefeated against them. So last night, I think, was a big heartbreaker for a lot of reasons. I'm excited. We're taking the show on the road and going to LA, sunny California, to keep following this really exciting time, really a historical time for the Milwaukee Brewers. Oh, now let's talk about a watch party, shall we? So if you do not have the resources, a ticket, a couple grand for a plane ticket, first of all, same. Second of all, you can still watch the game with lots of other Brewers fans at the NLCS Game 3 watch party. So last week's watch party was so successful at Davidson Park that they're bringing it back Thursday night. So yes, Thursday, October 16th, First pitch, 5:08 p.m. They've got a 200-inch TV screen for live game viewing. I think there's multiple screens that are going to be there. They also have food trucks. The sausages are going to be there. Bernie, Barrelman, the whole gang is coming. 414 Force, that's the Brewers hike team. They're going to be there as well, getting the crowd excited. They're also, I think I mentioned that they're having a lot of food trucks there too, so you can even grab supper while you're out there. Don't need to bring anything. The one thing that they do ask that you bring, though, is a lawn chair to sit on and maybe some blankets, as, it's a Thursday night in October. It could get a little chilly when that sun goes down in the 6 o'clock hour. So, okay, very exciting here. Lots to look forward to. Let's take a short break, and then we're going to regroup, and then we're going to come back with more kind of behind the scenes look at your stories that we were covering all day long.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. My name is Nicola Junowitz, joining you on this Tuesday, October 14th. Okay, so now that we checked in with our local news, we were talking about all the excitement surrounding the Brewers Game 2 tonight against the LA Dodgers at American Family Field. And we also got a briefing as well from our reporter, Christina Van Zels. She's following that horrible story of that Milwaukee mother, a 64-year-old, Carrie Zettel, who was stoned to death. Investigators say that it was her daughter who's responsible for that crime. She is talking to the Sojourner Family Peace Center about domestic violence issues, how to spot these issues in advance and prevent tragedies like this from happening in the future. So she was working on that story for us. I also want to bring you up to speed because I know this is a story that a lot of our viewers have been following. In Southeast Wisconsin, yeah, we're talking about the deal that has officially been reached between United Healthcare and Ascension, Wisconsin. This was not a guarantee. There was a chance that this would not happen. I know a lot of patients of Ascension, we're talking thousands of them, were actually looking to change their insurance providers during the open enrollment period because they didn't want to leave their doctors who they had at Ascension. You know, if you have a doctor who you like, you know that it's a relationship that is built over years. It's a trust that's built over years, so you can certainly understand why somebody would be so hesitant to leave their doctor and go elsewhere because this contract agreement was not reached by that October 1st deadline, which basically rendered coverage not guaranteed. So this is what we know about this. United Healthcare and Ascension, Wisconsin, announcing this morning they have officially reached a multi-year agreement. This is ending a weeks-long negotiation stalemate. In a statement, United Healthcare said the agreement is effective immediately and retroactively October 1st. So what this means is that if you've had an appointment at Ascension and you're a United Healthcare customer for the last 2 weeks, that is going to be retroactively covered. So there's not going to be a lapse in your coverage here. So great news there for folks who have needed to seek medical treatment at Ascension in the last 2 weeks. Let's see if I got some more details for you. Okay, so the deadline for the two companies to agree on a new contract was October 1st. That didn't happen. It led to weeks of uncertainty. HR departments are left scrambling. You know, how do they take care of their people as well? In a statement, United Healthcare said the agreement is effective immediately and retroactively as of October 1st. This is for members who are enrolled in the following plans. They will experience no gap in coverage. That was Medicare Advantage plans, including group, retiree, and dual special needs plans, United Healthcare community plans in Wisconsin or Medicaid, and also employer-sponsored and individual commercial plans. So great news there. This is the statement that we got from the UHC CEO of Wisconsin, saying we've reached a multi-year agreement that restores network access to Ascension, Wisconsin for people enrolled in United Healthcare commercial, Medicare Advantage, and Medicaid plans effective immediately. Our top priority throughout negotiation was to reach an agreement that was affordable for consumers and employers, and this agreement helps us accomplish that goal. So Ascension is saying that that they have secured uninterrupted in-network access to care for patients covered under UHC's commercial, Medicare, and Medicaid plans. With that agreement, Ascension, Wisconsin said it held claims for services that took place between October 1st and October 13th. So this is that retroactive part that we're talking about here. They will be covered at in-network rates, and patients should not be billed for out-of-network costs. So I think a lot of patients of Ascension, who are also clients of UHC, are breathing a sigh of relief this morning in Wisconsin. Great news there. Okay, now, let's listen in to our nation's capital. I'm just going to pull this up here. Okay, this is on router 2. Any minute now, we are expecting a press conference. This is Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America are hosting a press conference calling on Congress to pay our troops and work across party lines to pass a bipartisan, bicameral solution that protects service members, military families, veterans, and survivors. So what this is about here is the government shutdown. We are now well into the second week of this government shutdown, and there's currently no end in sight, unfortunately. A lot of different federally funded workers, and that includes our troops, are concerned about receiving a paycheck. We know TSA agents across the country right now are working without pay as well. So this is veterans groups are now weighing in on making sure that our troops get paid as that government shutdown is now in its 14th day. Okay, we're going to take a quick break now, and hopefully on the other side of this, we will be able to take that.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
All right, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk, everybody. Right now, I'm going to send you down to our nation's capital where Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America are hosting a press conference right now. They are talking about the impacts of the government shutdown now in its 14th day, and they're calling on the federal government to essentially greenlight funding so that our troops can continue to get paid. We know that President Trump had directed the Pentagon to use all available funds to ensure that the troops are getting paid despite the shutdown, but that is, of course, uncertain. So let's listen in now to this press conference out of D.C.
Schedule appointments or get life-saving medication. That says nothing of our active duty service members that are facing a possible lapse in paychecks tomorrow. And while we applaud the notion that we have found money to pay them, our troops cannot be waiting on stopgap measures. They deserve a permanent solution to be paid. Even before this shutdown began, nearly 1 in 4 active duty service members faced food insecurity, didn't know if they were going to be able to provide. Nearly half of our active duty service members are living paycheck to paycheck, and putting them in a situation where they are facing uncertainty is not good for our national security. No one facing that sort of uncertainty, unable to know if they can feed their family, is going to be having their mind 100% on their job of keeping our nation safe. And while Congress has many things that they need to hash out at this point, our veterans and troops should not be a pawn in their game. So united here together, one of the biggest coalitions since we got together to pass the PACT Act, we are calling on Congress, reopen the government, and pay our troops. With that, I turn it over to Blue Star Families.
Thanks, Kai. And thank you for your leadership, everything that you and Caitlin are doing to set this up. Something you said is about us getting together. I like working with so many of our folks here, worked together over the years on many things. It's just that when we get together like this, it usually means that someone is trying to take something away from us, or we're being denied something that we've earned, and that's unfortunate. But so just to introduce myself, I'm Tom Porter. I'm with Blue Star Families. We have a membership of over 400,000 military veterans and their families. And we work every day to improve the lives of those members, much like a lot of the groups here do with their members. And unfortunately, there are some folks that are making our jobs harder for us to do, and that's what we're here to talk about today. We've got partisan clashes threatening military pay, which is worrisome for so many of our membership. We got together just a couple weeks ago to call on Congress in an October 3rd letter to congressional leaders, asking them, 27 of our organizations got together and asked for them to pass the Pay Our Troops Act to ensure that military families got paid during a shutdown. That date is come and gone. They haven't passed that bill yet, so we're going to be talking about that today. Many military families, as many of you know, live paycheck to paycheck. Missing a payday means missing rent, missing meals, missing doctor's visits. You might not be able to pay that medical bill. This isn't a bureaucratic inconvenience. It's a direct assault on the financial stability of those who sacrifice so much for this country. Imagine being a deployed service member, worrying if your family can make ends meet, or a military spouse that's facing an empty bank account and loss of limited ability to pay for meals for your family, put it on the table. These are their realities. It's not just made up fantasy here. We keep creating situations that make military service harder, unfortunately. Our annual survey of Blue Star Families shows that only 33% of our members would recommend military service to their family and friends. Now, that's nosedived since 2016, when that number was 55%. So with 80% of service members now coming from military families, we're relying on military families to be the recruiters, and they're choosing not to. And we need Congress, we need the administration, we need America to make military service easier and more attractive for our young people, or else we're going to have a crisis in terms of filling those ranks in the future. The Pay Our Troops Act ensures our military is paid during a shutdown. We can't let our service members and their families become casualties of this political gridlock. Blue Star Families welcomes efforts that we've heard about recently, stopgap efforts to pay our military. It's just that we need resolution overall for Congress to get past this impasse they have politically and to pass a permanent funding for the year. We need them to pass the Pay Our Troops Act now without delay. To Congress, we need you to pass that now. We need you to honor our commitment to our country and get our families paid. Our families deserve nothing less. So thank you very much for having us here.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Hashem. I'm from the Reserve Organization of America, and we represent over 2 million of the reserve component uniformed service members across the services. And as the previous folks stated, we're here today to support the passing of any Pay Our Troops Act or appropriations to ensure that our service members are getting paid appropriately. Really, thanks for your participation today to ensure the stability, the readiness, the accountability of our uniformed services. During these government shutdowns, the uncertainty is really terrible for all of our folks. So, especially in the reserve component where folks may be doing a set of orders and doing active duty, and they have to cross, a fiscal year boundary, and during that boundary, they don't have an order anymore. They can't stay where they're staying. They might be sent home. They're not in the school anymore. Money that's coming into the family is not getting there. So they end up going home. The service ends up with a readiness problem because they can't get their folks trained, and we need some permanency in appropriations or the Pay Our Troops Act to do that. You know, we've had previous shutdowns in the past, and there have been Pay Our Troops Acts or some form of it to do it. But it doesn't solve anything, because during those time periods, there's still that uncertainty that happens. And there have been delays in paychecks to the service members, and there have been a risk and emotional stress on our families to ensure they're able to feed their families, get the stuff they need to do done. And, of course, it takes a toll on our national security. We can't forget that any delays in our training and readiness really degrades the readiness of our entire uniformed services. We support the Pay Our Troops Act because it really closes the gap. While we're very thankful that there has been money found to pay our troops this time, that is certainly not the solution. We have to work towards a solution that gives us better predictability, gives us better appropriations that are set on time for our service members. So really, if you look at it, it's the dignity and the respect that they reserve for the honor and the sacrifices they make for our country. We stand ready to support the folks that are with us here and anyone else, our leaders in Congress, to pass legislation for appropriation or Pay Our Troops Act, because we do not want this to stand anymore, and we need that type of service and respect to our nation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Candace Wheeler, and I am the Senior Director for Government and Legislative Affairs for the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, the national organization representing...
Here we go. Okay, you are listening live to a press conference that's being held by veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. This is on the ongoing budget battle that is happening in our nation's capital. The government shutdown is now in its 14th day. The shutdown clock just struck 2 weeks here, and basically troops are calling to get paid. As we know, many federal workers have been impacted by this. There's been thousands that have been laid off or furloughed because of the government shutdown, and now the argument is that these veterans, members of our military, deserve to be collecting paychecks this week. They, I believe, were set to be paid on October 15th, so that would be tomorrow. So they are calling on Congress to act, to reach an agreement. Kind of along a similar vein here, we're going to also hear now from Minority House Speaker Hakeem Jeffries. He is holding a press conference right now, the first one that he's had this week. Jeffries and his Democratic caucus have remained pretty united behind the demands for Republicans to agree to extensions to Obamacare tax credits as a condition for reopening the government. Those tax credits were extended during the pandemic, and so they're calling on them to be extended again in this next budget cycle. So let's listen in now to this press conference that is being held by Speaker Jeffries.
States that Donald Trump won. This is not a partisan issue for Democrats. We care about making sure the American people can afford health care. Whether you're a Democrat, an independent, or a Republican, we are fighting for hard-working American taxpayers. The Republicans do have a credibility issue when it comes to health care and the Affordable Care Act. And American people know we're standing on the side of lifting up their quality of life, and Republicans have spent the last 15 years, you are correct, trying to repeal and displace people off the Affordable Care Act. In fact, they've done it more than 70 times, which is why if we're going to resolve this issue, it can't simply be a Republican wing and a prayer. We actually need legislative action that extends the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And by the way, also addresses other aspects of the Republican health care crisis that is crushing the American people. Thanks. Third row, thanks.
The judiciary can only continue its full paid operation through Friday. Do you have any concerns about what will happen with that, criminal and civil cases?
We remain completely and totally concerned by all of the aspects of the Trump Republican shutdown, which is why we need them to abandon their failed my way or the highway approach, their take it or leave it approach, and the Republican go it alone approach. Because if Democratic votes are needed to reopen the government, which is the case, then this has to be a bipartisan discussion to find a bipartisan resolution to reopen the government and address the Republican health care crisis. We are very concerned with all of the implications of this Trump Republican shutdown and how the American people are being hurt. It doesn't seem to me that Republicans are concerned because they remain on vacation and have now canceled votes for the third consecutive week. That's outrageous. Democrats from all across the country will be here in person, meeting in just a few hours and throughout the week because we want to reopen the government. And the question has to be asked, why in the world are House Republicans still on vacation, spread out across the country and the world? It's perplexing. It's shocking. I'm flummoxed by the whole situation. It makes no sense. They're reinforcing the narrative that they could care less about the quality of life of the American people. Thanks.
Mr. Leader, I want to ask you about November 1st, which is when open enrollment begins. As you know, and some rates are already being set. There are some who think that's a date by which, at this point, the leverage of the shutdown may not matter as much because the ACA subsidies will be in motion in terms of the rates. How do you feel about that idea?
Well, our view has always been that we have to address the Republican health care crisis and the need to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits with the fierce urgency of now, because at this moment in time, notices are going out to people all across the country indicating that their premiums, copays, and deductibles are about to skyrocket. People are about to pay thousands of dollars more per year. And for many hardworking American taxpayers, you're talking about their health insurance rates doubling, tripling, or quadrupling. In the congressional district that Speaker Johnson represents, you're talking about thousands of people in his district who are about to experience a 379% premium increase. How is that acceptable? That's happening right now. One of the reasons why we have to act right now is because of the November 1st open enrollment period. That's just the beginning of the open enrollment period. It'll last until early to mid-December. And so Republicans can try to run away from this problem that they've created by continuing to break our health care system, but they will not be able to hide. And that will become increasingly clear, as Marjorie Taylor Greene consistently has pointed out, in the weeks to come. Thanks. You got it. Yep. Michael?
All right, you were just listening live there to our nation's capital, where you were hearing from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calling on Republicans to come to the table with Democrats to reach an agreement to end this 14-day-long government shutdown, the clock officially striking the 2-week period for the shutdown. Basically, he's reinforcing and calling on the need to extend Obamacare health care subsidies that are set to be cut.
Well, the Supreme Court case tomorrow is going to be incredibly important.
So now we're going to take a short break, and I will see you on the other side of it. I believe we're going to head to the White House, where President Donald Trump is meeting with the president of our
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are going to head now to our nation's capital, to inside of the White House, where President Donald Trump and other members of his cabinet are meeting right now with the president of Argentina. This is a pretty big meeting today. It comes as the U.S. is set to send $20 billion in funding for a government bailout there. This move by the president has garnered a lot of backlash from Democrats who feel like it is inappropriate to send billions of dollars to a foreign country when our government is shut down here. They believe that is fiscally irresponsible, whereas, of course, the president believes that this is a good move towards diplomacy in terms of strengthening relations with an ally. So, without further ado, let's listen in now to the White House.
We're very happy with the current currency arrangement.
Mr. President, your ABC fake news.
Mr. President,
Brian, please.
First of all, congratulations.
I don't take questions from ABC fake news. After what you did with Stephanopoulos to the Vice President of the United States, I don't take questions from ABC fake news. Brian, go ahead.
Yes, sir. First of all, congratulations on achieving peace. You are indeed the peacemaker. On a lighter...
Did you ever think I was going to be called a peacemaker?
Actually, I did. I saw some of the actions you were doing.
Go ahead.
But on a lighter note, Alyssa Farah, she is one of the hosts on ABC's show The View. She said a while back, I'll quote, "If Trump gets the Israeli hostages out, I promise I will wear a MAGA hat for one day on this show and say thank you for doing it." Your response?
Well, did she put the hat on?
Well, she hasn't got the hat yet.
Who is it? Which one?
Alyssa Farah.
Okay. Well, she used to work for me. So she used to work here. I'll tell you about Alyssa. She worked here. She gave me the most beautiful letter when, the administration, the time came up, the election was rigged, I left. She gave me the most beautiful letter you've ever seen. I was a great president. What a great job. Some of the letters have been quoted. This is Alyssa, who I never thought was very outstanding. I figured she would not make it. And she didn't have a big role here either. And then we had January 6th, and she left after that or before that, but she gave me the most beautiful letters. And then even months after she left, and while we weren't here any longer, she sent another letter, glowing letter, beautiful letter. And then she got hired by The View, and they gave her a couple of bucks, and she changed her view very quickly. I never thought she'd make it. Never thought she had what it took in any way. You know what that means. But she's on The View. But it just shows what a fraud The View is, because this woman gave me letters and statements. She said I was the greatest president in her lifetime. Now, she's not that old, so I didn't consider it a great compliment, but I've had better.
Can we send her a hat?
Well, recently I've had the greatest president of them all. I like that much better.
Mr. President.
Does that include Washington and Lincoln? Yes, sir, it does. I said, I like that person. So I think she's a total, I think she's a joke.
Mr. President, on Gaza, how long will it take Hamas to disarm, and can you guarantee that is going to happen?
Well, they're going to disarm, and because they said they were going to disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them.
How will you do that?
I don't have to explain that to you. But if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games, okay? Now, we did something monumental. We got the hostages back. That was the first thing we had to do. Above all else, get the hostages back. Now, they misrepresented because we were told they had 26, 24 of dead hostages, if we can use those terms. And it seems as though they don't have that because we're talking about a much lesser number. But that's a very tough subject. I want them back. That's what they said. I want them back. Also, they said they were going to disarm. And initially speaking, they needed, they did take out a couple of gangs that were very bad, very, very bad gangs, and they did take them out. And they killed a number of gang members. And that didn't bother me much, to be honest with you. That's okay. We had a couple of very bad gangs. It's no different than other countries. Like Venezuela sent their gangs into us, and we took care of those gangs. We have Washington, D.C. is one of the safest cities in the country. It was one of the worst cities in the country if you go back just a little while ago, right? Now it's safe. You can walk to work. Isn't it nice? But we have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes. You say
because
quickly.
you always, everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm, or we will disarm them. Got it? Okay.
What is the deadline you're going to put on that? You say quickly, sir. Sir, you said quickly, but what is the deadline you're going to put on that before you take action?
A reasonable period of time, pretty quickly.
Mr.
A reasonable period of time.
Congratulations on the peace you achieved in the Middle East, first
Thank
of all.
you very much.
And my question is regarding Argentina. Does continue?
Are you from Argentina?
I'm from Argentina, yes.
I like the Argentina. I like them much better than ABC. Than ABC fake news.
Me too, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Does continued U.S. support for Argentina depend on the results of the upcoming legislative elections and the ability of the government to pass long-lasting reforms through Congress?
Well, I think if they don't do that, we're not going to be around very long. Scott, can you handle that one, please?
We're confident that the president's party will and the coalition will do well in the election, and this aid is predicated on robust policies, and going back to the failed Peronist policies would cause a U.S. rethink.
Thank you very much.
It's a little bit, it's a great question. It's a little like New York. You know, you're reading in Argentina about New York. We have a problem. We have a communist who's 33 years old, doesn't know a damn thing. Practically, he's never worked a day in his life. And he sort of caught on, right? And I'm not going to send a lot of money to New York. I don't have to. You know, the money comes all through the White House. And if they're going to be sending us stupid policies, I mean, communist policies, which is proven for thousands of years doesn't work. You know, we don't have to prove it again. We're not going to ruin one of our great cities because we'll make that great. We will clean up the crime in about 30 days. It took 12 days to do Washington, D.C., so New York is bigger. And Chicago, we've already made a lot of progress despite fighting from the government, but Chicago's doing great. Memphis is doing really great. You know, we have great support there from the political leaders. They said, please come in and clean up crime. And we love it. We've in 1 week, Memphis is so good. It's so much better. We'll have it within a month. We'll have that into a safe city again. And all of these cities, we want to clean them up. We don't like that opposition. But if somebody's going to be a communist mayor of New York, it's a fluke if he gets in. There are a lot of failed people that he's running against. I mean, you have inferior candidates or something, because it's impossible to think that New York City can have a communist mayor. He's a communist. He's not a socialist, by the way. There's a big difference. He's a communist. He's down and dirty. He's a communist. He hates police. He wants to get rid of all police. I mean, how can a policeman? He hates Jewish people, and yet he's got Jewish people supporting. He hates Jewish people. So it comes through.
Okay, you are listening in to the White House, where President Donald Trump is holding a meeting with the president of Argentina. Right now, he is fielding a wide variety of questions from the media. In the last several minutes, he's been asked everything from, comments made by View hosts, Alyssa Farah, who used to work for him, claiming that if the president was successful in brokering a deal between Israel and Hamas, that she would wear a MAGA hat for one day. He was asked about that by one reporter. Another reporter asked about his plans to continue to send National Guard troops to American cities to help combat crime. He also was asked as well about, what comes next now that the Israeli hostages have been safely returned home. I should say the 20 living Israeli hostages have been safely returned home. What does this mean in terms of the next phase of the 20-point plan to end this war in the Middle East? So my name is Nicola Junowitz. It has been an honor and a pleasure to be your host here for the last hour. We've got our breaking news anchor, Haley Spittler, signing in now next. So we're going to listen back into the White House here, and we kind of do the changing of the guard. And I will see you next Tuesday, same time, same place.
Purveyor of drugs, but we have worse. What they do very well is they send their criminals into the United States, and they send Tren de Aragua, that you know very well. You're from Venezuela, I assume. And they send them in by the thousands, literally. And these are the worst of all.
Welcome.
They emptied their prisons into the United States. They emptied their mental institutions into the United States. And because we had a president who's low IQ, he didn't realize what was going on. And the people that are high IQ that surround him, but they happen to be lunatics, radical left, they're highly intelligent, radical left lunatics, okay? So in a way, that's worse than having a guy like Biden. But they ran the show. You heard about the AutoPen. The person that really operated the AutoPen, but it was really the people that told the person that operated the AutoPen what to do. Those are the people that really were president, okay? So we're not going to stand for it in this country. And by the way, that AutoPen thing is under serious investigation. Just this, I don't think you care, because you're from Argentina, you couldn't care less about that. But I just want to say, because I do the weave, you know, the weave, cover a lot of different subjects. But the people that are involved in that AutoPen scam, because he barely signed anything. I mean, this guy, I don't know how you can be president. He barely signed it. But the only thing we can find for sure is that he signed Hunter's pardon, his pardon. Hunter's pardon, I like that. That's a good combination. So we're going to work very much with the president. We think he's going to win. He should win. And if he does win, we're going to be very helpful. And if he doesn't win, we're not going to waste our time, because you have somebody whose philosophy has no chance of making Argentina great again.
What's your advice for Milei?
Steve, go ahead, Steve.
What's your advice for
Just to check something, you said Hamas assured you that they would disarm. Was that a direct conversation or through Mr. Witkoff? Or?
Through my people.
Okay.
At the highest level.
What's your advice?
And it was meant for
What's your advice for President Milei and Argentina as a political leader?
My advice is to hold strong to his principles, because he's right, and he's proving that he was right. He's got one problem. He's got people that are giving him tremendously bad press, even though they know it's wrong. He's got to hold true to his principles, because he's going to win. He's going to win. He's doing the right thing. Everybody knows he's doing the right thing, but you have a radical left sick culture that's a very dangerous group of people, and they're trying to make him look bad. I believe he's going to win out.
And we're going the right way with China in his house.
China?
China is,
well, you have to be careful with China. Look, we have, everybody deals with China. They have to deal with us too. We have to be careful with China. Look, I have a great relationship with President Xi, but sometimes it gets testy, because China likes to take advantage of people, and they can't take advantage of us. But we have a fair relationship with China, and I think it'll be fine. And if it's not, that's okay too. You have to do and go where the punches are thrown. You got to put up the blocks. We have a lot of punches being thrown, and we've been very successful. Look, we have the most success. I think we're the most successful we've ever been as a country. We have now close, I've been saying 17, we have, I think, close to, or maybe even exceeding, $18 trillion going to be invested in the United States. That's more money than ever invested in any country before. Even countries with much bigger populations, like India or like China. Nobody's ever had $18 trillion invested in the country. We have, and that's because of November 5th election, because I won. Oh, if she won, you'd be negative. You'd have people getting out of the country. This country would have been in a major depression. If she won, we would have been 1929. They'd like to see that anyway. That's why they keep the government closed. They have a shutdown based on nonsense. They want to give away 1.5, think of it, they want to give away $1.5 trillion to people that come into the country illegally. And as you know, the borders now are closed. But when they hear that they get the greatest health care package in the world and they have no money, but they're living okay in another country, they head up and they start forming caravans and they try and come into our country. But the big problem is they want to give health care to people that should not get health care. They want to give health care to illegal immigrants by the millions. Look at Gavin Newsom, what he's done. He's ruined California. He gives health care to anybody. And I guess they do it for votes. I actually think it's bad politics, but I guess they do it for votes. So I'm with this man because his philosophy is correct. And he may win and he may not win, but I think he's going to win. And if he wins, we're staying with him, and if he doesn't win, we're gone.
How can Argentina can help to the peace process, to the Middle East peace process?
They can help by doing well. If Argentina does well, that's helpful because they know we help Argentina. So if Argentina is successful, that's great because they view us as somebody that helped Argentina and they did well, and the United States maybe will help them and they're going to do well. So the success of Argentina would be a great feather in the cap of the USA because we're helping them. Right? You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, please, behind you. Behind you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last week you said that NATO should consider expelling Spain.
What?
You said that NATO should consider expelling Spain. Would you support that?
What expelling Spain?
NATO consider expelling Spain.
Oh. I'm very unhappy with Spain. They're the only country that didn't raise up their number to 5%. Every other country in NATO raised up to 5%. And Spain is doing very well off our backs. So I'm not happy with Spain. Spain gets protection, and they know, look, they're sort of in the semi-middle of it, so they're going to get protected automatically. Even if you don't want to protect them, you're protecting them because of the way they're located. And I think what Spain did is very bad. It's very unfair to NATO. It wouldn't matter if you said you're not going to protect them because they're pretty much protected. What are you going to do? Go through the other countries and let's go attack Spain, right? So I think what they did is not nice. I think it's very disrespectful to NATO. In fact, I was thinking about giving them trade punishment through tariffs because of what they did. And I may do that. I think unbelievably disrespectful. Spain, the only one out of all the countries in NATO, the only one that said that is Spain. And I think that's, I think they should be punished for that. Yes, I do.
On the government shutdown, you have the money to pay the troops on October 15th. Okay, how is
I actually have a man who is a very wealthy person. You'll know that when I tell you this. Who called a donor, a great gentleman, and he said, if there's any money necessary, shortfall, for the paying of the troops, then I will pay it, meaning he will pay it. How about that? I said, look, we're not going to need it. We're going to take care of our troops, but this was a position that's being forced upon us by Democrats, and all they have to do is just sign a piece of paper saying we're going to keep it going the way it is. There's nothing. It's not like it shouldn't even be an argument. They've signed it many times before. I don't want to bore you with the fact that Schumer said 100 times you should never close up government, but Schumer's a weakened politician. I mean, he's going to finish his career as a failed politician. He's a failed politician. He's allowed the radical left to take over the Democrat Party. So if they write books about that, if they write books about him, they're going to have to say that his career ended by allowing the radical left to take over the party. I mean, I won an election in a landslide because people are not into the radical left, and the Democrat Party is. People didn't want to see men playing in women's sports. They didn't want to see transgender for everybody. They didn't want to see all of the different things that they do that's so crazy. Open borders. I mean, the worst thing that he did to us, it's not inflation, because we fixed inflation. Prices are way down. I don't know if you saw that gasoline went to 58 just now. Did you see what's going on with gasoline?
We track that.
No, $58 a barrel.
Yeah, we track that.
Nobody can believe it. I'm very proud of that. You know why? Because we're pumping like we've never pumped before. Because if you get the gas price down, everything else comes down. It's very simple. And he went away from my policies, and you had the greatest inflation. The last administration had the greatest inflation in the history of our country. And now, as you know, groceries are down. It's all down.
But on the shutdown, are you settling in for is this going to be a long term? Are we looking months?
It's up to them. All they have to do is just vote to extend. We don't need it. We're not saying we want money. We don't. What we need is a right to extend. They want a right to extend, but they want $1.5 trillion so they can give it away to illegal immigrants, the people that are invading your cities And many of these people, for whatever reason, I mean, I understood this. I called it a long time ago. These countries are run by people I know, friends of mine. Like, I know this gentleman. I hope you haven't said, he probably did too. Why not? They send up their worst people. They send up people that are criminals. They send up people from jails. And at best, the best ones they send up are people that don't work very hard and that are on a social form of welfare. And they're sending those people into the United States. I don't blame them. I'm angry at them, but I don't blame them. But I'm really angry at Biden and Kamala and that group of lunatics for allowing it to happen, because it's the hardest thing. Now, you know, we're sending them out. It's incredible the job that Christie and Tom Homan and the whole group is doing. But we shouldn't have to be doing that. We're doing a lot of work on getting people out of here. Tren de Aragua has caused tremendous damage, and our soldiers are great. You know, our soldiers are now based on merit. They're not based on woke, because we won the case in the Supreme Court, which was the bravest case. I have such respect for the Supreme Court because of what they did with merit, because our country was built on merit. Countries are destroyed on woke. You know, I made a statement, and I hated to make it because it sounded bad, but everything turns to you know what when it goes woke. You remember the term. I don't like to use it because you might have some children listening, but it turns bad. And no, we have the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. That's why he's here. That's why every other country wants to meet here too. But we only have so many hours in the day and days in the week. But we get the hottest country. Think of it. We were a dead country a year and a half ago. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's pretty good. Did a good job. Okay, any other questions?
Mr. President. All right, this is Haley Spittler taking over this second hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. We have been listening in as President Trump first met with the president of Argentina and then has been taking questions from reporters, touching on a myriad of subjects there, from inflation to the latest out of Israel and Gaza. He did mention that so far, obviously, we saw a lot of the living hostages be reunited with their family in Israel yesterday. But President Trump mentioning now that the dead hostages have still remained in Gaza, which is a break in the peace agreement. So he says Hamas needs to hand those over, as well as need to disarm. And he says if Hamas won't disarm on their own, that he will disarm them. So there's still a lot to follow coming out of Israel and Gaza there. I do just want to take a quick live look here at the White House, because up next for President Trump, he will be holding the Presidential Medal of Freedom ceremony for Charlie Kirk, which he's been giving posthumously. His wife, Erica Kirk, will be on hand. That ceremony has been moved to the Rose Garden because Trump said it needed a bigger room for the crowd that they are anticipating. That ceremony is slated to start a little bit later today at 3. Of course, we'll keep you updated on everything coming out of Washington, D.C. As far as the Charlie Kirk ceremony, meeting with the Argentinian president, the latest with Israel and Gaza, as well as the latest on the government shutdown, which now is entering week 3. So a lot to keep our finger on the pulse with, which is what we do here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are going to take just a quick break, and then we'll be back in 2 minutes with the latest news coming out of the Badger State. Stay with us.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's Haley spending the next 45 minutes with you. Then at 2:30, our very own Kim Murphy is taking over. And of course, at 2:30, it's switching to all things Brewers as well. We have an extended edition of Wisconsin Live Desk that'll take you all the way to 4 p.m. We've got a lot of planned as far as elements out of the field, out of AmFam. We're going to get you all ready for Game 2 of the NLCS tonight. Right now, 62 degrees outside. I was thinking we could take a live look at Milwaukee, where you can see the sun is not shining all too bright. There are certainly some clouds in the sky, but right now there's not any rain, which is always nice. But first, before we head out to AmFam, because of course I'll take you there, Brew Crew, I want to take you to one of my favorite things. Do you guys remember this? The bird camera is back. Of course, here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, we monitor these things behind me called feeds, and we never really know what's going to necessarily pop up during our show here, but occasionally we get really lucky and we find this bird camera. I don't know where it even is. I would assume it's somebody's backyard. But I always find it so incredibly mesmerizing. It's almost always busy. I think there was one afternoon where a few birds were here and there, but otherwise most of the time, every time we come to this camera, they are eating their bird seed. It's always usually about lunchtime, but I find it just, so mesmerizing. Also today, there's special guests. There's some geese there, it looks like, in the background who are also enjoying their Tuesday afternoon. I would ask our producer, Carrie, if he is a bird fan, but we learned last time he doesn't do a whole lot of bird watching. I also don't do a whole lot of bird watching, so I wouldn't be able to tell you what type of birds we're looking at. But I think that I used to just not really even put thought into the hobby of bird watching. And since discovering this camera, I get it. Truly, it captures my attention, and I feel like I could watch it for hours, even though essentially it's the same thing over and over again. It's just birds eating feed. I love it. And occasionally, you guys, we catch a little tiff. A few times we've seen some birds get into a little disagreement, a little fight over the food and their spot on the feeder. So we'll keep our eye on that today here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I never know how long it's going to stick around, but I promise I'll bring it a few more times during my hour because I love the bird camera. But I did promise you guys a live look at AmFam. So let's head out there. Of course, Brew Crew getting ready for Game 2 of the NLCS. It does come after they dropped the first game of the series to the Dodgers late last night, not without putting on a fight. I was actually talking to Kerry about it this morning, and he said the Brewers didn't lose. The Dodgers just won, and I do agree. I mean, that was some good baseball all around. I know Carl was joining Nicola last hour talking about that wild double play. I think you probably have to be more of a baseball fan to truly understand how crazy that was and the intelligence behind Contreras to so quickly clock what was going on and know to run. But yeah, good game last night. We're gearing up for another good game tonight. Here, we can actually put all those details on this screen for you. Okay, so gates, they're going to open at 4:38. Then we should learn the roster and the lineups of who's taken to the field tonight, both for the Dodgers and for the Brewers at 6:38. You're going to want to definitely be there in person if you got your tickets. They're sold out now, I'm sure, but they're giving away those rally towels. I don't know if they're the same this round, but last time I think it said Magic Crew on them. And you guys, look at this, a ceremonial first pitch going out tonight by Ryan Braun, and then national anthem is going to be sung by August Haas. So a lot of reasons to go to the game, or of course just at least tune in to the game tonight. First pitch set for 7:08. Which, Carrie, these nights, these games that go for a while, and I have to get up early. I'm so tired watching postseason baseball, but it's always so worth it. Obviously, you guys, I am a Cubs fan. It was brutal to watch them get knocked out in the NLDS. And now always comes that really tricky question for me, which is, who do I root for? And I go back and forth on this because I firmly believe that if your team's going to lose, I would rather lose to the team that went on to be the World Series victors, right? Like, you want to be like, yeah, we lost to the guys who won the World Series. I also always firmly believe in rooting for my division. I think if one team in the division wins, it's good for all.
But I was telling Carrie, I was a little frustrated on Saturday when the Brewers had their L flag on the field. So I'm still deciding if I want the Dodgers now to win because of that, because I am bitter, or if I'm still going to go with my logic of it's nice to lose to the team that keeps advancing and root for the Brewers. Maybe I could be convinced to root for the Brewers because I do really like Milwaukee, and you guys have given me a warm welcome the last few months, so jury's out, but I'll let you guys know. Obviously, we don't have the full lineup just yet, but we do know Freddie Peralta will be taking the mound for the Brew Crew. So we did pull up some of his stats as far as how he's done against the Dodgers. You can see there he's 4-2 all time versus the Dodgers, which, hey, that's good. That's a winning record against the team. Hopefully he can make that 5-2 after tonight. And you can see his last 2 outings against them, both were victorious. I think that you guys would probably really like a repeat of that July 7th one where it's not close at all. The Brew Crew really ran away with that one. 0 earned runs. You always like seeing that out of your pitcher. Hey, we're also keeping our eye on Game 3, which that one would be in California, in LA. So if you're looking for a spot to go and watch the game, we've got you covered. Take a look. This is the official Game 3 watch party at Davidson Park. It's going to be on Thursday. First pitch for that one at 5:08, a little bit earlier. I appreciate that. As somebody who has an early bedtime, I can see more of the game. They're going to have a 200-inch TV screen. So I promise you'll be able to get a good view, and it's completely free. And sometimes it's just fun to be surrounded by other members of the Brew Crew. You know, it's one thing to get to watch it from the comfort of your own home, but sometimes your viewing parties, maybe just yourself or your other family members, and this is just a chance to go and be with other people who are cheering on the Brewers and wanting to see them advance to the World Series, because that would be the next step after this. So we'll see. Again, don't get down on losing that first game. You can absolutely make a comeback. I mean, technically the Brewers picked up the first 2 games of the NLDS, which still made its way to Game 5. So we'll keep our eye on all things Brewers for you. I know some people are probably curious about the weather for tonight's game, which you guys, we've got you covered for that as well. Yeah, let's bring that one in here. You can see this is, again, the game tonight. I know we were talking Game 3, but we're back to Game 2. It is going to be in the 60s and kind of the high 50s there, which is beautiful fall weather. I know Rob was telling us earlier this morning he does anticipate it being a roof-closed game, but if you've been wondering about the potential for rain, he was pretty confident this game would be dry. He said if we potentially got into extra innings, which you never know, the game was certainly close last night, that's where you might have a couple of raindrops here or there. But again, we're anticipating probably a dry game. Carrie was just saying, Rob said the roof would be closed probably for the game tonight, but look at right here, roof is open right now. So we'll have to see if they decide to close it or to keep it open. Carrie, actually, we'll bring you in because my friend was just visiting from Florida, and she asked me how long it takes to close the roof and open the roof. I didn't think it was that long of a process, but you're the Brewers expert. How long would it take to close this?
It's about 10 minutes.
Okay.
In the first year that the park was open back in 2001, they did it every single game. They opened and closed it, and because they wanted everybody to see what their money had paid for.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's about a 10-minute train track. That is a train track in the outfield that the motor runs along with the roof, and yeah, it takes about 10 minutes, but it's pretty cool to see.
I feel like when you think about how much space the roof covers, 10 minutes is not too bad at all. I thought that's about how long it was because years ago I went to a game when the Cubs were playing the Brewers, and it did start raining like unexpectedly during the game, so they closed it. And I said, I mean, it didn't take a second, but I didn't think it was that long. So yeah, we'll keep our eye on this, and we'll see what happens as far as open roof or closed roof, but either way, you're going to see the game. That's the best thing about having that retractable roof is you don't have to worry about rain delays because those are the worst, especially.
Right. And obviously, I'm going to just throw in that last night the roof was closed and the panels were open. I don't even know if they'll have the panels open tonight because of that northeast wind.
Okay. Carrie, I also want to know what your predictions are for Game 2.
I think they're going to come back, and you know, whatever they were feeling last night, they're going to focus a little bit more, and I think the Brewers are going to win Game 2.
We love to hear that. Making it, 1-1 as they head to LA. Obviously, home field advantage was crucial, in my opinion, in the NLDS. So you want to take advantage of these early home games for the Brewers before they go play potentially the next 3 in LA. I got to ask your thoughts on, that double play yesterday.
That was definitely something I've never seen. I'm sure, well, even the announcers said in all the years they had done it, never seen it before. I didn't know personally that when you caught a ball and it popped out of your mitt and you caught it again after it going off the wall, that was not an out.
Right.
So I initially thought, where is everybody going? Because I thought that was an out. But as it turns out, it's not. It's a live ball.
I will say, I didn't watch the game live last night, so when I was watching this clip this morning, it still took me a few times to quite process what was going on, because I assumed that if he had it bounce out of his glove and then caught it again without it touching anything, I would think that's an out. But because it hit the wall is what made this whole new scenario.
Right. Yeah, I thought, if it hit the ground, then it was going to be, either a live ball or whatnot, but I didn't realize that the outfield wall. So it was an interesting play nonetheless.
Yeah.
And Sal Frelick, he's got an arm, so.
He does, going all the way from what was almost a homer to getting that out at home plate. So impressive. People always ask me why I love baseball. They're like, it's such a long game. And I go, oh no, I think that when players have that high IQ and they make these split-second decisions, we're like, wait, that was genius. And that was what was totally on display last night. So I'm glad that we got to see that. I feel like it's nice to at least have a highlight for the Brewers out of that loss.
Oh, there was plenty of highlights, I think, especially when you talk about the 9th inning. They loaded the bases, but in the end, it's just the little things, and the Dodgers pitcher was just so dominant.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens tonight. Of course, again, if you guys stay tuned here to Wisconsin Live Desk, we'll have you covered with all Brewers coverage starting at 2:30 all the way to 4. And we have our crew all around AmFam. We've got you covered all day long when it comes to the latest out of the Brewers. We could talk football really quick, usually every Tuesday. I like to keep you guys updated on my fantasy league. My first year playing fantasy football, I got the win this week. I'm officially in second place for the entire league. We'll see what happens. I don't know if Carrie will be here, but Delaney and I said if I win, we're having a Wisconsin Live Desk pizza party. And Carrie, it's seeming like a possibility because I'm in second place. My first year playing, I've dealt with injuries left and right. Including my quarterback, Joe Burrow, the Bengals, which obviously that is who the Packers took on Sunday. Packers got that victory, I want to say 27-18. Pretty decisive there. Next up, they'll play the Cardinals in Arizona. So I'm sure our very own TVV will get you all prepared this week for the latest in Packers football world, green and gold. My Bears also somehow got that win last night, so that was nice because now Caleb Williams is my fantasy quarterback, which is the Bears quarterback. He was supposed to be on the bench, but Joe Burrow is out, so Caleb Williams is in. Hey, we're going to keep you all updated as far as news here in Wisconsin, around the country, even around the world. Of course, we'll keep you updated on all things Brewers as well, but we are just going to take another quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back into the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is officially 2 o'clock, which means I'm with you for the next 30 minutes. Then our very own Kim Murphy will take over, and she's got the last hour and a half because it's another day of an extended Wisconsin Live Desk, and Kim's going to talk all things Brewers. So don't worry. I know we just talked Brewers for a little bit. They'll go right back to the Brew Crew starting at 2:30. I do want to actually take us out here to Memphis, where the mayor of Shelby County is currently addressing, giving his reaction to the Memphis Safe Task Force. This is where Trump recently deployed members of the National Guard. So we're going to listen in and get an update out of Memphis for you right here.
Suppresses activity, right? It keeps people in their homes. It keeps them from going to church and some of the other things that they do. It doesn't suppress crime, right? It suppresses activity. And as you suppress activity, obviously you may see some incidental crime reductions as a result of that, but that's just because people are in paralysis. And so that's our fear in Memphis and Shelby County, that a diverse community like this, we need everyone to participate in all the opportunities that are available. And so, for example, in Shelby County government, tomorrow is National Latino HIV Awareness Day. And there's no community more hard hit in Memphis and Shelby County by the HIV epidemic than the Latino community. And that's particularly true over the last couple of years as we've seen skyrocketing rates of infection with respect to HIV. And we need members of that community to recognize that, to recognize the resources that are available, and to come out and participate and take advantage of those resources. But our fear is that that is not happening right now. And so tomorrow, and partly to acknowledge the National Latino HIV Awareness Day and to raise awareness in general, we're having an HIV summit. The health department will be sponsoring an HIV summit where one of our focuses is raising awareness with respect to the Latino community. But we've already heard reports from folks who work at the health department around the fear of coming out and participating. This particular summit is for leaders in nonprofits, but there is already a chill in the air around whether or not it is the right time to go out and participate. And so the point is that the paralysis we see around our community, the fear, the anxiety, can have devastating consequences beyond this moment as people don't get out and access the resources that we have available. With that, we can take some questions. Okay. Yeah, we'll take a couple questions. If y'all want to come forward, we'll take a couple questions in case they have something for y'all.
Mayor, what does your administration intend to do about this?
Well, one of the things we're doing it right now, which is raising awareness and keeping the community updated. At the same time, as I've said before, we are weighing some sort of legal action in order to put a stop to some of the unconstitutional actions that we've seen and heard about. There's nothing more unconstitutional than the comments made by Donald Trump and others that they're going to send military forces, the National Guard, or whoever else they need to American communities. We don't think that that is in keeping with the American tradition, and we know that that is unconstitutional and unlawful in Tennessee. We've also heard other comments like that from other folks who are members of the administration, and we have seen our governor be in some of those rooms. And instead of rejecting that kind of talk and reminding those in the room that some of their talk imagines actions that are unconstitutional, our governor said silent and said nothing. And so we will be raising awareness. We will be saying something, and we will, at the appropriate time, with the appropriate research in mind, take legal action as necessary.
Mayor, a question for Mr. Bain or Mr. Ochoa both. Can you describe these administrative warrants a little more detailed? For example, Mr. Ochoa said that they're signed by bureaucrats or ICE agents, not judges. Are these like people with orders of deportation? What's the justification for the creation of these warrants?
So an administrative warrant is also known as a Form I-220. Pretty much any form in immigration starts with an I. If you've done an I-9, that's an example. But an I-220 does not necessarily mean that somebody has a removal order. It just means that the agency has got this person on their radar, and they are to be arrested and maybe detained and placed into immigration removal proceedings. It's totally different than what we would consider a warrant. These administrative warrants generally do not allow entry into somebody's place of business, their home, that sort of thing. This is something so that if they ever encounter this person on the streets and they match this name, they can grab them up. If ICE officers legally want to enter a residence or place of business, they do need the more formal traditional warrant, which must be signed by a judge or a magistrate of some sort that identifies the particular individual they're looking for and the address at which they're allowed to search. Where the administrative I-220 warrants, or I-225, they actually just are signed by ICE officers themselves, usually a supervisory officer. I often go and speak to communities and churches about knowing the difference between these two. And I think what I would say to the public that are interested in this issue is look at who signed the document. If it was a judge, valid warrant, you got to go with it, but it must also meet the same scope requirements as a traditional warrant for any of us. But if an ICE officer shows up at your house and tries to show you an administrative warrant, you do not have to let them enter your premises.
And is the warrant generated because they're suspected of committing a crime, or what's the basis of the warrant? Is it just because we think this person's in this country illegally?
Correct. So usually this warrant is indicative that immigration believes that this person does not currently have status, or they had status and it lapsed, or they have status and they have violated some condition of their status.
Question, for the client that you showed up for, what's anyone's recourse if the officers refuse to give you your driver's license back? What can you do about that?
So this is a bit outside of my usual practice, but it is something called a writ of replevin. Correct me if I'm wrong, Professor. But a writ of replevin is essentially demanding your lawfully owned property back from some entity. Like, if I knew that Joe stole my lawnmower and I knew it was on his property, I could do a writ of replevin to get the court to order he return me my property. Where in this situation, it would be a writ of replevin against the Department of Homeland Security saying, hey, this is lawfully state or federally issued identity or property, you must return this. But we are working on that exact thing for some of our people.
My question for Carlos, I'm an ABC 24. I wanted to ask you, there's this perception that, the task force is supposed to be meant to reduce crime, but obviously that's not from the Latino community perspective. Could you speak a little bit about that?
I think the most important thing here is to balance safety and liberty. Everyone is interested in reducing crime. Nobody here is interested in reducing liberty. And so we as a community, we need to balance those two things. Anyone can have an opinion about the crime statistics right now. In my opinion, I think the numbers kind of speak for themselves. It's not really making that big of an impact. But the big thing here is that we need to balance safety and liberty. And so that's what I would say to you today.
Did I hear that right, that it sounded like the ICE arrests and detentions outpaced the criminal arrests? Or did I hear that wrong?
We believe the highest category of arrest based on their data, which we're in the process of validating, is warrants. We believe the second highest category of arrest based on their data, which has not been validated yet, but is in process, is related to immigration offenses, or alleged immigration offenses.
Raymond Copeland with Channel 3. What would your message be about the steps that people should take if they are a legal immigrant or they're trying to go through the process of citizenship and they're pulled over? What are some of the steps that they should do or keep in mind if that happens?
Well, unfortunately, until we can have this situation addressed, right, the fear of racial profiling, obviously the unconstitutional talk around deploying the National Guard, I think a lot of folks are going to have to walk around with their papers. And I'm sure that these two individuals can talk about that more, but carrying their passports and other papers to prove their citizenship with them. And so that's unfortunate because I don't carry around my passport and so forth with me. The other thing I mentioned, and we just heard a story yesterday from a Shelby County employee who's not here for understandable reasons, and the Shelby County employee told us that he was pulled over during the Memphis Safe Task Force by individuals related to the task force as he stopped at a stoplight. He was just at a stoplight. He'd broken no laws whatsoever, but he said as soon as they saw him, he felt, this was his personal opinion, that they realized he was Latino, and they hurried to get behind him and pulled him over. They pulled him over. He had all the paperwork in order and so forth. He's a Shelby County employee, and detained him for a small while they investigated his paperwork. And then they let him go. But he was very, very shooken by it. He was given no reason for why he was pulled over. And the only thing he could conclude, because the agent gave him no reason, is that he must have been pulled over because he was very visibly, Latino and did have an accent.
All right, if you are just joining us, we have been listening in to this press conference out of Memphis where the Memphis Safety Task Force was giving an update as far as what's been going on there. We know the National Guard was deployed. We also know that ICE has been making some arrests in Memphis. This on your screen is the mayor of Shelby County, which is Lee Harris, which is what Memphis would be a part of. Memphis's mayor, Paul Young, was originally on board with the National Guard coming in here, but you can see now the Shelby County mayor definitely saying they're looking into some legal action as far as the latest numbers coming out of there. We are going to take just a quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and when we come back, our very own Jason Calvi will be joining us, giving us a little update on the government shutdown. As I mentioned, we're entering week 3, so we know you got a lot of questions. Jason's been working on getting those answers, and he'll join us in just 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back into the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is Haley Spittler with you for about the next 15 minutes before our very own Kim Murphy takes over. And I want to take a quick live look out of D.C. This is, of course, the White House we're looking at, but all eyes remain in D.C. as the government shutdown continues. Day 14, we now enter week 3 of this government shutdown. We know a lot of people still have questions as to what that means for you. And our very own Jason Calvi is joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk right now. And Jason, let's talk federal workers. I mean, first, we have those who are first being told you still got to show up to work, but you might not get your paycheck. And then we have those who are furloughed. Kind of break down what they're experiencing right now.
Yeah, so both groups of people. You've got the people that are considered essential, they're exempted from the shutdown. So they're TSA officers at the airport, air traffic control, FBI agents, border control. I mean, all of those entities are still working, but the problem is the paychecks. The paychecks have now run out. This government has been shut down for 14 days, 15 days. Now we're on getting into 15th day. So October 1st was when this thing started at midnight. So we're now entering, the 2 weeks are over, now we're entering the 3rd week of the shutdown. People did receive, I was speaking with one federal worker today, and she said they did receive their partial paycheck, because think about it, you work your time and then you get your paycheck later. So she said she did get a partial paycheck for the time before the shutdown happened, and that check came in the mail either for some of her workers on Friday or Monday, depending on the bank. So now they're at a point now where they're not going to get paid again until the government reopens, and they're really worried about what to do. Are they going to have to go to food banks? And I'll tell you about that in a second. Will they have to file for unemployment? Will they have to get a second job now to make ends meet? Because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, those paychecks have now stopped.
I'm curious too. I mean, we've talked about this before. We've seen government shutdowns in the past. I think it's a big ask to, TSA workers, to other essential government employees to continue showing up day in and day out, but not get that pay until the government is fully funded. At what point do we expect for these people to say, I'm done, like I'm not coming in anymore until I'm going to get that paycheck? That was one of the pressure points, the last government shutdown, which was the longest in history. 35 days, you remember that, from 2018 through December through January of 2019. And after that happened, after that government shutdown happened, there was actually a new federal law that was passed and signed into law that says that these workers are guaranteed back pay. So that is now part of federal law. And the question is, though, how are you supposed to make ends meet right now? Right. While the government is not, we're still at an impasse where there's no government funding and you're working without a paycheck. That is a big ask. And last go around, it was the air traffic control. It was the folks at the airports that started calling in sick. And that did, at that point in time, lead to some negotiations to get the government funded back in 2019. So this go around, there's been threats if people don't show up to work, if they're one of these people that has to show up to work, if they're not showing up to work, potentially they could lose their job. So that's one of the threats out there right now. But you're seeing both sides digging in. You've had vote after vote after vote in the United States Senate that has not funded the government. Both sides trading barbs back and forth, really blaming the other side for the government shutdown. Right now, both sides digging in. And when is this government shutdown going to end? That's a big question for these workers. We have, about 18,000 federal workers, civilian federal workers, who live in Wisconsin right now asking these questions themselves. What am I supposed to do next? Yeah, speaking of these, government workers who aren't getting paid right now, you found out there's some special help available for them. What did you learn? Yeah, so this will be a scoop you're going to hear on Fox 6 tonight. I guess I'll share it with you, Haley, for the first time. The Milwaukee Area Labor Council, which represents a bunch of different both private and public unions in this area, they're actually going to start a food bank. They're going to start collecting food. Their members haven't even been told this yet, so we'll let them know right now. All the members of the Milwaukee Area Labor Council are going to be invited starting tonight and tomorrow to start donating food. This food donation program will last about a week, and then that will be distributed to federal workers who right now aren't getting paid. So that will happen starting tonight. Those members will be alerted to the fact that they're being asked, those people that have their jobs that are in the private sector. So that includes, construction workers and electricians and all the different unions that are part, Teamsters, and the list goes on that are part of this labor council. Those members who are actively working and getting paid in the private sector will be invited to make food donations that will then go to their public counterparts who are not getting paid right now. Yeah, that's a huge help if you are, a federal worker who is wondering how you're going to put food on the table these next few weeks, finding out there's going to be some food available to you, which, speaking of, I know people who are on food stamps or what's called food share in Wisconsin have also been wondering, is this going to continue? Does this have funding? What's the latest on that, Jason? So the funding for food share is already in place for October. So if you're getting that benefit right now, you're fine for October. The question then becomes what's going to happen at the end of the month, October 31st, when we go now to November 1st, where are the benefits going to be for that? So that is one of the questions that we're working on for our stories tonight, is looking at food share. We're also looking at the Housing Authority of Milwaukee. So if you're getting Section 8 funding, if you're getting money for your housing from the federal government, is that money going to be a worry? I talked with the Housing Authority of Milwaukee today. They said right now they haven't had
issues. But again, everybody's kind of looking to next month. What's going to happen next month for some of these crucial programs that people rely on, including food share, including the housing authority, including other things. So we're looking at those issues. We're going to hope to have some of those answers for you tonight at 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I think it's a really important story you're working on. I know a lot of people keep wondering how and potentially when this could impact them. So good to get some answers there. You touched on this a little bit earlier, but where do we stand as far as reaching that temporary funding between Republicans and Democrats? It really doesn't sound like we've made any progress, but what's the latest out of D.C.?
I think, the latest is that, a lot of all eyes at the federal government have recently been on what's happening Israel and Palestine with that negotiation. And, you've seen praise from Democrats and Republicans on that deal that was worked and the release of those hostages, major impetus there for peace in the Middle East, right? And so a lot of focus has been on that from the federal government. So now the question is, now with that big win for the United States, really helping broker that peace deal, is there impetus now to work a deal between Democrats and Republicans in Washington, D.C., which again, 2 weeks now, haven't been able to reach this deal. Democrats in the Senate are asking for an extension of the Obamacare tax subsidies that people rely on to lower rates for their premiums on the Affordable Care Act, what's popularly known as Obamacare. So they're really looking for that to be extended. That's going to run out at the end of the year. So we still have Republicans said there's still time to negotiate on that particular issue, but that the clock is ticking. That's really the Democrats' red line, is they say they need to see that Obamacare money continue on, those subsidies continue on after the new year. So they're really using this government shutdown on that particular issue. So is it now time that, this impacts Republicans and Democrats that rely on the Obamacare exchanges for health coverage? But Republicans have said they want to have the government open first before they're going to be negotiating that issue. So there's been side discussions in the Senate regarding this particular issue. Right now, again, 14 days have passed now. Is it time for seeing the fact that we've had this peace deal in the Middle East? Is it now time to have a peace deal for keeping the government open in the United States? That's still an open question in Washington, D.C., as all sides are right now have been, for 14 days, have been really digging into their particular perspective. Republicans saying pass what they call a clean CR, a continuing resolution to fund the government. Once that's passed, then they'll say they're ready to talk about the Obamacare subsidies. Democrats say no, we don't want to wait. It's so crucial to talk about that now. So that's where Democrats are. That's where Republicans are. Both sides, again, Haley, trading complaints and really blaming the other side for the government shutdown. Mm-hmm. When are they both going to come to the table and agree? That's what we heard from the federal workers. They were critical of both sides that we talked to today. The federal workers we talked to today said, both sides need to come to a deal to fund the government so that people can get their paychecks, military, food stamps, federal workers, this 18,000 civilian federal workers in Wisconsin right now who are either working without pay or are furloughed without pay, looking to pay their mortgages, their rent, buy groceries, and the like.
Yeah, it's definitely, a complicated issue, something we've been covering from the beginning here at Fox 6, and we'll continue to cover the latest with the government shutdown, including your story coming up later today on Fox 6 and Fox Local. Jason, thanks so much for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Thanks, Haley.
I do want to actually take us quickly, you guys, back out to D.C. as well, where you can see President Trump is now having lunch with the president of Argentina. Doesn't look like lunch has been quite served, but certainly a lot of members of the media there right now. Hey, we're going to take another quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back into the Wisconsin Live Desk. We've got just a few minutes before the Wisconsin Live Desk turns blue and gold, and we do all things Brew Crew for the final hour and a half, which, speaking of the Brewers, let's take another live look at AmFam, which you guys now, the roof is closed, so that 10-minute process has happened. They maybe are getting a little worried about the cooler temperatures for tonight's game, but again, we're expecting it to be dry as long as we don't go into too many extra innings. Then Rob thought we might see a raindrop or two. Fun fact for you guys, it is National Face Your Fear Day, which for me I feel like I'm facing, which was that the Cubs wouldn't make it out of the NLDS, and that happened. That's why the Brewers are here in the NLCS, but I'm happy for you, Brew Crew, and I hope that tonight we can really tie up that series 1-1. The Dodgers hopefully see a defeat here in Milwaukee before everything turns on over to LA for the next few games of the NLCS. But hey, it's been a blast being with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We don't want you to go anywhere because, again, we have all that special Brewers coverage coming at you next. So stay tuned. Kim Murphy will be here next.